You don't wake up knowing markets, kid. Everybody starts brand new. First you learn what moves, what waits, and what risk can really do. No racing clocks, no magic tricks, no get rich overnight. Just learning how to place a trade and sleep cozy and tight. No shortcuts, no loud claims, just rules you understand. Know what you're risking, know your why. Keep a steady hand, one trade at a time, that's how it's done. Slow is smooth and smooth is smart. You learn before you earn, my friend, that's how confidence starts. This ain't a sprint, it's a longer game. So pull up a chair and plan. Welcome to Options for Beginners with Dan.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. My cohort in crime, Matt. I appreciate Matt is here to many things, and I'm thankful to have Matt today. And we're going to go over. I'm looking at three things today. Continuing a little bit. I think next week I have some ideas. We'll switch directions at least for next week. Not that we can't come back to the wheel, but today I'm going to be looking at a little bit different vehicle than Microsoft's, just to get us a little bit variety. But again, practice. A lot of these things, the more you see it, you say, hey, maybe I'll try something like that or learn more. So we're going to look at an Apple cash secured put today. And then we'll look at hey, is there a better way to skin the cat? We'll talk about that. Then we'll look at an Apple buy right type. We'll discuss that. But then we'll look at a poor man's covered right, a little bit alternative to that. And then we'll move to which I think are great vehicles for beginners because they're cheap. And I'm looking at one that's been hot the last 3 days, XLF, which is one of the, it's not as important as XLK, but when you say that, it's one of the, it's got a little more bite to it in this, one of the sectors in the SPX.
Yeah. It's next to my favorite XL, which is XLE. So XLF next to it in the alphabet.
Oh, really? That's your favorite?
Good thing. Yeah, of course. Of course. I'm all about the energy.
Oh, yeah. And then XLF, what I like about it for beginners, folks, is it's $52. So you can do, it's a great, it's like AAA ball club, right? Before you go play with the Cubbies, or whatever your favorite team is. That's right. Indianapolis, you don't have a baseball team, do you?
We have a AA team. The Indians, of course. The Indianapolis Indians. AA baseball for the Pirates.
Yeah, sometimes, I'll tell you, if I had a choice, if the kids were younger again, sometimes I'd rather a AAA, AA, or single A in my town, only because they're cheaper and you can go see them more. I mean, you go to a professional game, it's like going to Disneyland or something with the park and everything.
And you can get close to the field in the minor leagues. And they're really, they're leaving it all out there. I'm not saying that major league players aren't, but they're kind of playing for their lives a little bit. That's a tough living.
Right. They're playing for their lives and they appreciate it. Not that the Major League Baseball players don't appreciate the fans, but it's something when you're struggling, am I going to be here in a week? The fan says an encouraging word. Hey, thanks. I need that.
It means something.
It means something. So let's put on our hats today.
Let's look at some Apple.
Yeah, we're going to go look at Apple, and we're going to start with we're going to talk about this whole cash secure put. We'll start with the put. Yeah. So Matt, and again, if you're folks, just for Apple's been come up the last couple of days, but it's looked a little better in the price chart than Microsoft, right? It's coming back up. It's a little strong, it's come off of its lows of 243 about a month ago, January 20th. We're currently at 265. So again, the idea is, hey, if you like Apple, you don't mind owning the stock. So we're going to look to sell a March. We're just going to use this as an example.
Yeah. Yep.
A March 6, 250 put.
Okay. There we go.
So we're looking, folks, we're about 16 days out.
Yep. About a
You
buck
say-
50.
Yeah, you say, Dan and Matt, how far out would you go if you're selling a cash secured put? So cash secured put is basically, we want cash flow in stocks. Like we're selling out of the money put. If it goes down, hey, it's a stock I like.
Yeah.
I stock at a discount of 5-10%. I'm happy to do that. But if it doesn't go down, I'm getting cash flow. Now, the negative of that, folks, remember, if Apple suddenly runs up $10, $15, you're like, oh boy, I wish I would have bought the stock, because you're only, in this case, what are you bringing in, Matt? Like a
buck 50, buck
yeah.
40, something like that.
Yeah. So, but again, the biggest negative of this strategy, folks, is the fact that to get this buck 40 or whatever, you got to put up.
Yeah.
Apple's 265. You got to put up $25,000.
That's right. It's a lot of money, Dan.
Yeah, it's a lot of cicadas, and it's, but it hurts the yield. So we're saying, hey, you know what? And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm happy to buy the stock if we close under the short strike, 250, and we're at 265. And the delta of this, Matt, why don't you go through maybe the Greeks of this and what's the delta of this?
Sure. So we're looking, it's about a 16 delta.
Yeah.
And if we go back to the chart, you can see that here, and you can see, we're long time. So if we move through this and it does nothing, it does nothing. It's just good for us. If we move down, actually, that's bad. Yeah. And if we move up, that's also good. So, just IV is a little bit less of a concern when we're this far out, or because we're not that far out. Like, that's the point. We're what? A little over 2 weeks from Friday. So even if IV spikes a little bit or goes down a little bit, that's not going to be as big for us, right, Dan, as a delta move.
That's right. And, one thing, folks, is just, there's multiple definitions of delta. But if you look at the delta of this put, what does it mean, around 15 or 16?
Yeah, 16. Yep. 16.
So you say, what would you like for a definition for today? And it's kind of look at that and say, look at the probability is there's only a 15 to 16% probability that in the next 16 days we'll finish under 250. Can it happen? Of course. But from a probability, hey, we got a good shot to collect our buck 45 or our buck 50, whatever it is, buck 47. And so it's a good, you can look at it from that point of view. And again, hey, could you go out 30 days and get a little more premium? You could, but this expires in 2 weeks. So everything is good about this. But again, remember, the whole objective, if you're looking to sell a put with this type of philosophy, is, hey, I like Apple, right? You're doing this because, so that takes the pressure off. You're saying, hey, I like Apple. If it goes under 250, I would be prepared to buy the stock. Now, I'm going to give an alternative instead of buying the stock. I think I'd rather buy an option, because it's just, again, I don't want to put up $25,000.
That's right.
And so
and I'll just say that's the thing about CSPs. Like I actually, we've been doing so much of them on the show. Dan, I sold a couple last week. I sold one in a stock, and it's up. The stock is up here. Let me look. I saw they had earnings and it was good. I haven't even looked at it because, it's up 10% today. So
the stock's up 10%.
Yeah, the stock's up 10%. So I kind of sold it to get assigned, which is good. The stock's not up 10%, but what's the downside is, like, I'm collecting like $100 or something. Like,
right.
It's not a serious amount of money compared to what it would have been had I done a different options play compared to the risk involved. And that's like, I had a thesis going in, and this is kind of the best case outcome, but the best case outcome has a very fixed cap on the gain.
But in this case, the good news, and you bring up an interesting point, Matt, you were long the stock also, right?
Yeah, this is actually, this is a stock. It's a chemical stock that I wanted to own. I missed it. It's run up a lot. And so I thought, I'll sell a put back to where it used to be.
I got you.
And then I think it's just gonna keep going. I probably won't own it. I'll collect a few shekels on my way to not owning it via my cash secured code, which appears now will probably expire negative. So
But what's good but folks, what's the main thing is here, the foundation of Matt's, it's very solid. He just said, and he still made money, right? He just said that, hey, it's high, which makes sense. The stock's high. By selling a put, I can buy the stock lower. But if it doesn't go lower, he's still making money, just not as much as if he was long the stock, right? And you'll continue. You probably would you continue to, well, it's up 10%. I don't know if you would continue to sell the put in the stock.
yeah, I would sell more puts once this one's expired.
I got
So
you. You
that's a
would.
way of risk, and that's a risk management. If I like owning, I'm just going to use round numbers for examples, but if I like owning 100 shares at $12, which is what I sold a put for,
Yeah.
and it expires worthless, then maybe the next put I sell is 100 shares at $13.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to stack them because I'm profitable on one, just because then that's a different level of risk than my original thesis.
Yeah. Good point. So folks, just, as we just in the few minutes here, you can sell a put for cash flow. You say, hey, I like this, I like the Apple. I don't mind buying it, but I'd rather just get cash flow every month and sell that. So, and then Matt said, well, yes, cash flow, but the stock's been up. It's also a mechanism, cash flow, but I want to buy the stock. And so Matt's, it's funny. He made money, but he's saying, I would have rather it go down first. Let me get long the stock, because when we're up 10%, he would have made more on the stock in this case than the short put. So there's, unfortunately, you can't have your cake and eat it too with these things. Now, for those who say, you know what, I don't want to put up 25,000 to get $1.50 or $1.47. Now let's go and I'm going to look at, okay, what if we spend 15 to 25% of the value of the short put and buy a put. And I just use for an example here, Matt, now let's add on, let's buy the March 6 235 or 230 put, one of those. So we're going to add a put to this.
That we want to buy, turn this into a PCS. Is that what
you're
saying?
Yes. Turn it into a put credit spread, folks. Again, it'd be, it looks like the 235 put might be around 46 cents or something.
Yeah. So get a buck with some slippage.
Yeah. So again, it's the question, hey, would I rather have would I rather get a check for $146 potentially and put up 25,000, or would I rather get a check potentially for $1, right? And put up, what's the margin on this, or max $1,400 or so, right?
Yep.
And it's kind of a no-brainer from a yield point of view, right? Your yield will be much better. You're putting up $1,500 or $1,400 versus 25,000. Anything else, Matt? Do you want to maybe run through the this thing a little bit?
Yeah, I like this. I was just going to say the difference, that whole risk discussion for me too is a little bit, the put credit spread is a little bit, it can be a different thesis than
good point,
than just selling naked puts. This is what I would, if I was doing something like this is more of a pure options play, as opposed to selling it. And the nice thing about this is, right, like your risk reward is just different. When you have the PCS versus a cash secured put.
Yes. And let's just a couple thoughts to add to this before we move to the diagonal examples. Is in this case, I purposely look for about a 5 delta. So the 235 put is about a 5 delta. And you say, well, what does that mean?
Yes, it is.
It's way out there. So that means there's only a 5% probability we'll finish below 235 in 16 days. So why am I buying it? I'm buying it strictly to reduce the margin from 2,500 to 1,400, which is significant. Now, Dan, you say, well, Dan, let's walk through this just for a second. What if I don't mind still being short or buying the stock? Can I still do that with this structure?
Yeah.
Yes. And let's just talk a couple thoughts. Yes. If let's say we close under 250.
Yeah.
There's a very small chance we'll finish under 235, right? Because that's a 5 delta. And if it were to go down that far, we could just sell out the put and make some money.
That's right.
Right. That would be the case. But the idea is this. So what if we just follow through this all options wheel and say, okay, I'm going to do the put credit spread. If we finish under 250, I'll let the long put is going to be near zero anyways. Let that go to zero. I'll take assignment on the short put, right? And be long stock. But what's an alternative to that? Well, the 235 put's going to go out worthless. Let's say we close at 249.
Yep.
Right? And instead of getting assigned on the short put, what other choices would I have? And I'll just give you a couple to think about, folks. You could buy in as you get near, one day from expiration or two, as there's the extrinsic value of the 250 put is fleeting and there's not much left. You could buy in your 250 put, right? And immediately after, in other words, when there's a couple days to go, you don't have to wait till you get assigned. You could buy in the 250 put, right? And you say, okay, Dan, but I just said I don't mind being long the stock. Well, let me finish. You could buy in I'm just giving you one option. You can buy the 250 put, and as soon as you bought in the 250 put with not much extrinsic value, just closing it, but I'm immediately going in because the stock had gone down, and I'm going to replace that with a long call, right? I'm immediately going to go. You can buy a long call 30 days out, 90 days out,
yeah,
a year out, whatever you want. You can buy a 80 delta. That would be more of a stock surrogate where every dollar comes up, you make 80. You can buy whatever. I'll give you a couple things here, but what I'm saying is every step of the way we can save you money. So and the other thing is, let's just say you say, okay, Dan, let me face the fear. And then I want to have Matt go talk about what he's bringing up, but let's face the fear.
Yes.
I have a small account, Dan, let's say $5,000-$6,000. What would happen if I got assigned? Now, again, I'm just facing the fear.
Yep.
All right. So let's say you let yourself get assigned on the short put. Guido from the brokerage firm calls you up and with his Goodfellas voice says, hey, I need more money. Like I need more money. You say, Vito, I am so sorry. I don't have it to throw in more money. He goes, hey, because I like you, this is what I'll do. Right. So he's saying, okay, you're going to get assigned on the assigned. They're going to give you face the fear. You're going to get 100 shares of stock. So now they're going to say, instead of 1,600, you need to put $23,000 more in the account. You say, I don't have it. He says, no problem, because I like you. We'll just sell out the stock. Right. So there's a solution, right? Or they'll sell it out for you. Now, I'd rather you not do that. Rather you do it yourself, because you conceivably you could have a little bit of risk on that day, right? If it opens up or down or whatever. But you could sell out the stock. And again, as soon as you sell out the stock, buy a call, right? Whatever so again, now I would rather buy in the short put, but all I'm saying is a brokerage firm isn't going to come to your house and say, put up $23,000 more. They're just going to sell out the stock, right?
Yeah.
But they're not going to penalize you. They're not going to put, okay, this guy's an idiot, or this guy, doesn't get a Christmas gift this year or whatever. But I'm just right, man. I mean, again.
Well, and yeah, just a word on this, because this is an area where brokers, use clearing firms oftentimes. And this is connected to how the way brokers do business that new folks may not understand. So let me just talk on this on a second, because there's a couple kind of related situations that I've seen. Number one, if you're using like Option Omega for automation or whatever, you'll notice at the end of the day at 4:15, all the prices are trued up. And if you held an SPX option to expiration, it's going to get trued up and the exact P&L will be there. That's not how brokers function. That's how we function.
Right.
Brokers don't function that way. So if you look at your broker account at 6 o'clock at night and you held some auctions into expiry, you probably will, you may, and you probably will know the prices, notice the prices are very, very off.
Yeah.
And this, why does this matter? What does SPX settlement prices have to do with what we're talking about right now? Well, what it has to do with is that's just a function. The brokers do options. I don't want to call it an antiquated way, but Dan, they've been doing this for a long time. The prices are not settled at the end of the day. And so there are situations, if you're long a spread or short a spread and one leg is assigned and one leg is not, there are unfortunately very sad cases of people logging into their brokerage account and not understanding what's going on.
That's a good
and
point.
Some very bad outcomes have taken from that.
Yeah.
So if you are short or long a spread and one leg gets assigned and one leg expires worthless or whatever, call your broker, ask them what's happening, tell them to walk you through exactly through your situation. Because as Dan pointed out, a lot of times with these spreads, they're just, they don't know who you are. I don't want to say they don't care who you are, but you're just in the pile of nightly tasks that is automated where the accounts get settled, credited, debited, all that. And so if you should just know that if you're kind of playing around with this stuff.
Yeah. And that's that would be my number one thing. I think just to, face the fear, right? And call up, because the other thing is, and then I want to have Matt go over this. The other thing is, will all brokerage firms handle an assignment or something exactly the same? The answer is no.
That's correct.
Right? Now, I would, if you said to me, what firms would I think would handle it more humanely? I don't know if that's the right way to say it, that wouldn't have Guido. And I would think of Tasty Trade. A friend of mine, Peter Klink, is the head of margins, all that stuff.
Yeah.
He was a market maker for 25 years there. He understands this stuff, right? So he's not going to worry about risk if he doesn't see any, right? Whereas some firms, their compliance department, I'll use the word as Matt used, antiquated or whatever, and they might, but it's just, you want to understand how they look at it. But in terms of risk, but I'm just saying, and it's not anything crazy I'm talking about, but you have to, because it's a little different, you can handle the whole wheel thing much cheaper and have better yield potential, but you just have to get used to it. And maybe, maybe in a future beginner class, we do one, and just to see if, as you go through the experience, but calling your broker, if it's think or swim, and find out who are the people that you deal with. So then when it comes, you're not panicking. The other thing that would be, you need to know who you talk to, because I'd hate for a beginner person to be in that situation and they just call randomly the help desk or whatever, or whoever, and they get somebody who, knows less about what's going on than you, right? And so you want to know who's the SWAT team in that firm that deals with assignments, that's going to give you, this is the way it is. That's who I want to talk to. So I wouldn't just call up and say, can you give me anybody who's involved in customer service? They'll give you an answer, but it may not be exactly, it may be in the ballpark, but not exactly. I would say, hey, who in your firm, what department handles assignments and the emails that come out from Guido and all that kind of stuff? That's the department I want to talk to, because they'll know exactly, Dan, this is our procedure, and our procedure might be different. Schwab might be a little bit different than there. But again, these are Anyways, just some thoughts on that. Matt, go ahead. You were bringing up I always love the 3D-er.
Yeah, no, I was just modeling it in 3D. Dan, did you have another? Did you want to look at a diagonal or a
Yeah. So
four-hands covered
now
call?
and again, we're looking for, if you're going around the wheel, folks, you start with this cash secured put, and we're saying, hey, let's buy a put against it, maybe a 5 delta. Well, what if we go down and you get assigned? Okay, if we can deal with that assignment, we don't want to take delivery of the stock because that costs a lot. But right about that time, we either close the short put or, hey, let it get assigned. That wouldn't be my first choice. Okay, I'm not going to get, or you get long stock. But the bottom line is I want to replace it with a long option because it's so much cheaper. So what I'm going to give you is just an example of a diagonal that I would do or that I would be comfortable with in Apple. So I'll just give you an example, Matt. It would be buying a May 15 270 call.
Okay. Buying a May 15 270 call. There we go.
And then selling a March 6 275 call.
And then selling a March 6.
Yeah. So folks, just to lay the groundwork, our long is 86 days out. Our short is 16, and there's flexibility here.
Yep.
And again, this is just an alternative. This is a cheaper, again, covered right or a buy right in Apple is going to cost you about 23 to 25,000. This is $1,000 trade, right? So we're bringing you in, and if you look at the graph that Matt has here, you can see, does that kind of in the covered right or buy right family, the graph? Yeah, it's not exactly.
Yep.
It's, Matt, why don't you go through the
yeah, I mean, basically your short is only 16 days out, right? So there's 70 DT difference. So the profit chart looks like this. And again, I can reset the vol to kind of where we are today. The vol does matter, but time matters a lot. You can see the theta here, and then the delta matters a lot because this is a long delta trade. So what's the most profitable outcome? Well, first of all, we should look at our profit tent. At closing, it's going from roughly right about where we are now all the way up to 295. And we want, the ideal is getting as close as we can to that short strike, which is 275. And so that's the ideal. And then, there's a couple different outcomes if we got on this side of it versus this side, the past side of the call. We're more likely probably to get the position called away from us. If we get on this side, we probably are less likely to get the position called away from us. Although I will just say, if you are short a call, there are crazy stories, and it can happen that you can get assigned that call whenever. Now, let's talk through that real quick. Let's say we finished at 280 and your short call and long call are both in the money. Dan, usually a broker is if you get exercised on the short call, usually the broker will exercise the long call and make it a net out the position to zero, leave you with the cash from the trade in your account.
Now, I haven't heard that. I definitely.
Well, I'm saying if you got assigned the short call, they don't you see just the brokers typically exercising the long call for you to satisfy the short call?
Well, here's this. Let me just say this with all love towards the brokerage firm. If they exercised my May 15 call, right? I would get Guido myself, and I would go over to there, because you think about, you say, Dan, why are you getting, why would you get upset if they were short stock? So what Matt's saying is, what if I get assigned, and I'm going to address this, what if they get assigned on the short call? So now I'm short stock.
Right. That's what I was. Yeah.
So to get long stock, they'll exercise the May 15 270s, right, Matt?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things they could do, but there's
if they did that, I would go over there with, like when I worked at UPS, we had Teamsters Union.
Yeah.
I would get Guido, Carlo.
Get a couple buddies, huh?
I'd get a couple buddies, because the problem with that is a position that was harmless to a degree.
Right.
all the premium, the May 15 270s.
Yes, your time.
There's a lot of time left, a lot of extrinsic value, and they're breaking they just broke my arm.
Yeah.
And I'm paying out. So what would, I mean, worst case would, I think with the brokerage would be, what I would tell them, with the brokers, okay, so again, let's run through this one. You get assigned on the short call,
Yep.
275 call. And I'm going to give you why I've never, at least the people I've been dealing with, never had an assignment. And I'll go over that in a second. But so you get assigned on your March 6th, 275 calls.
Yep.
Now you're short stock. The Guido calls you up and says, hey, Dan, you need to put some more money in your account. I said, Guido, I told you every month, I tell you the same thing. I don't have any more. So what we're going to do is we'll buy in the short stock and sell out the long call, right?
Yeah.
That I'll do. No problem, Guido. Have a good day, right? But here's the bigger thing. Two things I want to point out. Three things real quick. Matt mentioned the break even on the upside of this of about 295.
Yes.
Just so you know, right? You say, Dan, that graph goes down on the upside. The 295 is a 3 delta for a 16-day option. What does that mean? The probability of going into that red on the top is extremely low in 16 days, right? Because the 295 is literally a 3 delta. The other thing is this. How we manage these would be, again, big picture. Never are we probably even going to be at expiration on these. As soon as you're up, again, the world of cash secured puts and covered rights generally, historically, I'm not saying it in the high flyer. Yeah, if you get 1% a month, you're thrilled, right? You're happy. We're looking for 10 to 15% to 10 to 20% on this type of a diagonal. Dan, what would you call this type of a diagonal, right? Shout out to this Anthony in our community. This is a out of the money call diagonal. Both options are out of the money.
Yeah.
So you've got more delta. What's the delta on this? 50, right? So if we go up, $2, $3, you can make $100, right? Well, $100 on capital of 1,000 is 10%. So generally, I'm looking on the upside 10 to 20% on these. And when you get it, you would get out, right? I mean, obviously you can make more, but on these, we're not looking for expiration. I mean, if it were to get on the upside, but again, remember, folks, if your focus is on this trade, the upside should not be your focus. Yes, we should talk about it and deal with it, but the downside is really your problem. If you're looking at this and saying, well, wait, as we go towards the green, that's going to be my problem. I'd much rather us go up and deal with the green. The red is your problem. So that on the downside, and that's why you have in this example, our long is 86 days, our short is 16. If we go down, we have a lot of, we would call it rolls. I can buy in my short, sell another strike, right? Same strike or a little bit lower, 272, 7 days further out or 14. Yeah. So these are stocks you like. So we have multiple sales we could do.
You got options, Dan. You got options.
You got options. Now on the upside, let's just face the fear. We get in expiration. Can you have an idea, folks, when you have risk of assignment? Yeah, when the extrinsic value disappears, right? And so on the upside, here's the problem. If we start getting way up there towards the break evens, on the upside, first of all, you take a breather, get a cup of tea. You're making money, right? You're making money. But what I would do is buy in the short call and sell a strike higher, right? Maybe out 7 or 14 days, right? That's a better problem to have than the downside. So just like, same thing, Matt, right? What does somebody do who's at home if you have a buy right? You long stock and you're short a call and we go up. What do? Well, you could say, well, somebody might just let themselves get assigned on the short call and they're out of the wheel and they start again. But someone might say, well, Dan, I would buy in my short call and sell a higher strike maybe out 7 or 14 days. Why can't you do that here? Right? It's the same stinking thing, right? But it's getting used to it. But the bottom line is, and I want to say this from the top of the Sears Tower, this is $1,000 trade,
right,
compared to a $23,000, $25,000 buy rate.
Yes.
You're coming out of the gate on $1,000 trade. If we go back to when we put it on, I think the deltas were 40. They will decrease. Your deltas will decrease as here we are. No, we started at 20 deltas, right? And then, but the idea is I would have a good till cancel order in to sell this out for 15 or 20% price. Usually on these where it's an out of the money diagonal, it's a little more aggressive, a little more long deltas. I mean, you're looking for 20%, which is kind of, let's just get a little bit of perspective. You'd be happy with 20% for a year on a covered rate. So these are different animals, but you have plans. So last thing real quick, and then we'll run for homework. I want you to look at, Matt, bring up XLF, one of the sectors in and this would be a AAA ball club. This would be a cheap way for you to maybe get involved in a diagonal, very cheap dollars. It's a $52 stock. Yep. You can kind of learn diagonals, right? If you're trying to learn diagonals intellectually without ever putting one on paper or live, good luck to you. Tell me how that works, right? Tell me how you can become a mechanic with the books. Tell me how that will work. So here's the example I want to use. And XLF has been up the last 3 days, and it's trading again at $52.
Yep.
And so the example I want to use in XLF is diagonal. Same. I want to buy a May 15, 52 call, and I want to sell a March 6th, 53.5. So buy one May 15, 52 call, sell one March 6th, 53.5 call. A little bit different configuration than I did before. The one in Apple was a out of the money long diagonal. This is going to be, my long is a little bit in the money.
Yeah, you have more room to the downside.
Yeah, my short is more out of the money, a little more room to the downside.
Yep.
But again, instead of putting up $5,200 for covered, right? This is about $197. You're about 24 deltas long, Matt. And so this would be your total risk if the world ended, be $197. But again, you're buying May 15, so you have 2 months further out, a little over 2 months further out between your long and your short. But if you want to learn diagonals, right, these poor man covered rights, something like XLF, $52 stock, it'd be like being in the AAA ball club, right? You can get in there, you can, it's not going to get too expensive on you. And again, you're 24 deltas long. What does that mean? Every half dollar, every dollar we go up, roughly, you might make about $24. A dollar is a lot in a $52 stock. So half of that, if it goes up a half a point, that would be about 12 deltas. The other thing is, the nice thing about these diagonals is they're long vega. So Matt, what if you went in and showed the vols of each of the two, and what if you pumped up maybe the long a little bit more than the short, so people could see, hey, what if we go down? Vol will go up. What will that do on the downside? Will you still lose? Yes, but it'll take a little bit of froth off it.
Yeah, you'll get more room.
You get a little more room. It'll help you on the downside a little bit on this. So again, folks, it just, my biggest encouragement to you on any of this stuff is practice, right? Practice to me doesn't make perfect. It makes better. But, XLF is a cheap vehicle to do it on, but these diagonals are a cheaper way to get involved. And it's just getting used to it, right? Will you get used, Dan, I want to know a strategy 100% intellectually before I'll do it.
Right.
I'm just saying there's a balance, right? I mean, the way we were taught in the trading pits, they'd give you some, but I mean, we were trained in the pits, right? So it wasn't like, okay, you're going to be in a classroom for 6 months. No, it's just like the mechanic taking his kid to work, say, look, I'm doing an oil change today. While you're doing an oil change, you're doing it, but maybe the dad is explaining, right? Okay, here's what oil is. You don't want to drink it because here's what's in oil, right? And you're going through some important lessons. Well, it's the same thing in the pit. You're standing next to somebody, he's doing something, and when it slows down, he'll say, here's why I did what I did. Here's what this means. Here's what's this. So you get pieces of it, but you're seeing it. And I think that's the thing is, when you learn something, even in Options Omega, like, take advantage of the OO show in the mornings at 9:45 Eastern. Matt and Troy are always sharing a test. Now, is the test for you to automate right away? No, but they're giving you some structure of the building, but they want you to go make it your own, tweak it, and then when you're comfortable, eventually trade it, right? And
That's right.
it's a process, but you have to do it. Keep your trade small as you're a beginner. But anyways, next week we'll come back to the wheel. It's not like we're never going to come back to the wheel. If you have questions, here's the thing. Next week we'll move on to something else. I have a couple ideas, but what I'd like you to do is, if you have questions on the wheel, just to get some discussion for learning, to keep the discussion going forth. Hey, Dan, I agree. Or Dan, hey, what about this? What about that? Here's why I don't think it'll work. Here's why it doesn't work. Here's this. Here's what my broker's from. Let's have that discussion, right? But give me something, right? I can't read your mind. Give me something. And Matt and I will cover this as we go. Matt, you want to end this with a little bit? I love this feature of the Option Omega Mind. You want to talk a little bit about what's up there, Matt?
It's just a 3D version of the chart. So it can help you visualize it depending on how your mind works. There's people who really like to see it with a different, some extra information directly on the chart on these axes. So you've got time mapped over here and the price is mapped over here. So it's just a different way of looking at the same thing. We can model this. We can grab any of these sliders right here and we can expand our view. We can change the vol structure. We can change the time. We can do all of that. So yeah, if you're interested, we've got modeling, backtesting, automation. You can buy any of those or all of those subscriptions, optionomega.com. So,
all right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks, Matt, for being a great help. And we'll see everybody. Today's Wednesday. Boy, it still feels like you keep on these shortened weeks, you keep thinking
I know
Wednesday, it's Tuesday, but no, it really is Wednesday.
I know. It feels like it should be Friday, Dan. It's been that long of a week.
Huh? I know it has been a long, yeah. So we'll